Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here recording episode 103, and today our topic is living arrangements in different countries. And this episode is for you if you're curious about how people live in different countries, what types of housing they may have, where they might be living when they're working, whereas maybe being at home with their families. And I'm also going to be discussing a few of my favorite living arrangements as well. So we're looking forward to bringing you this new and exciting episode all about living arrangements. And my buddy, my co-host, coming from not the Harry Potter studios, but a different living arrangement, my buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello. Yeah, I am
on the road again.
And this is not an On the Road Again episode because there's not much to talk about in Troy, Michigan. But before we get into that, please, everyone, spread a little love. Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. That's where you'll find things I retweet. Occasionally, it's been a while, but occasionally I'll tweet something nice and hilarious myself. It's always hilarious. Or I'll tweet the Song of the Pod, which will take you to the Song of the Pod, which will be on the Untranslatable Song of the Pod playlist on our YouTube channel. Or you can email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. At any of those places, feel free to slide into the inboxes and DMs and give us Song of the Pod recommendations, topic recommendations, travel tip location recommendations. We do every other Saturday. We do untranslatable travel tips. So far, we've done one about Prague, Vienna, and Chicago, and we got another one coming up soon. So give us some recommendations on where you'd like us to talk about. Also, most importantly, actually, spread a little love. 5-star reviews. I said 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. All five. And you can go to our website, untranslatablepodcast.com. I am coming to you on location. As you can tell, not the Harry Potter classes. I can actually move around in here.
Looks weird, man. Can't believe it.
From the Hampton Inn and Suites in Troy, Michigan. Now, usually, I'm like you. I prefer to find a nice Airbnb. And Sydney and I, thought we had done that. We found a place, found a place in Royal Oak, right down the street from the main downtown area of Royal Oak. Thought it was a great location. We drove there, and she worked, so we left a little, in late afternoon, maybe 1:30, 2-ish. So we didn't get in until about 10 or 11, about closer to 11. And obviously we told the Airbnb guy, hey, we're not getting in until later. Will that be fine? He said, yeah, no problem. And so we're like, cool. And so we got there at about 11 o'clock, told him we were there. We were waiting at the door for a bit. I saw him. It was an apartment complex, and I could see through the little apartment complex. I saw someone running back and forth. Come to find out that was him. And so we get into the apartment. It's a little more, how should we say, Spartan than I was initially expecting.
Whoa there. What do you mean by that?
Oh, it was a little not empty. It was a little bare, as in Spartan. Okay. But that's no problem. I mean, we don't really need much. But we went into he was showing us around. He's like, so this is the bedroom. He's like, just so you know, the sheets just got out of the dryer, so they might still be a little damp. Do you want me to run them through the dryer again? And I was like, I mean, if they're damp, yeah, that would be nice. Right? We don't want to sleep on damp sheets. And so he's like, all right. And he's like, here, I'll show you. It was an apartment complex. And so he's like, here, I'll show you where the washer and dryer are so you can get them when they're done. You don't have to, I don't have to come back into the room after. And we're like, all right. So, Sydney, I didn't feel him, but Sydney, he showed Sydney where it was, and she's like, he said damp. He's like, those felt like they had just come out of the washer machine. She's like, they were soaking.
Oh God. Okay.
And so it turns out after he took the sheets was being very liberal. It was sheeta. Okay. And it wasn't just a sheet. It wasn't even the fitted sheet. It was just the top layer sheet that he was using as the only conduit between the mattress and the bed. Our bodies,
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So he took the comforter off and showed Sydney where the dryer was, and we went to go get food while that was happening. We're like, all right, that's a little unorthodox, but fine. Listen, we're not stuck up. We can handle this. It's no big deal.
We're flexible.
Exactly. So we come back. I took her to a Coney Island because it was like 11:30 at that point.
Yes. Okay.
And one of the
what kind of Coney Island was it? A Leo's?
National.
Okay.
There's a Leo's right down the street, but National was a little closer, a little less outside of like the like there's a Leo's like right in the middle of Royal Oak, and so that's usually where more of the drunks go. And we were tired. We didn't feel like dealing with that. So I was like, I
don't blame you.
So I was like, I'll show you a Leo's later, and we'll do a full comparison later. But let's just go to the National. It's the same distance away, but away from all the riffraff. So we went there. We came back. The sheet was dry. We went down to the laundry room, which it looks like that's where they filmed many murder films, murder horror films. But anyway, that was fine. And so we put the one layer of sheet back onto the bed, not a fitted sheet, just to be clear, which is like, if you're going to have one, at least make it just a fitted sheet.
Right. For sure. For sure.
First of all, what kind of Airbnb is doing that? Another rule I learned from Airbnbs, never let your guests see your bare mattress. It wasn't like stained or anything. It's just not a good look. It's like a lot of like lint and shit on it.
Also, you guys got in at like 11. How could you have not had this shit ready before you got there?
That's
just saying.
What we were wondering.
I'm just saying. But anyways,
I feel like we've left you plenty of time.
Right.
He claimed that he was running around, like he had some sort of emergency come up and he just got home. But it was just like, still, like you're running an Airbnb. Like this is part of the deal. So anyway, so we put the single sheet back on, and I went to go grab the comforter. The comforter was wet too.
Of course it was.
And I was like, well, it's only damp. Like it's not that bad. Then I like laid under it. I was like, oh no, this is like wet too. And so we couldn't just, even if we wanted to, we couldn't just put it into the dryer because it's a apartment dryer. So it required quarters, and I did not happen to have 6 quarters handy or however many it took.
Right.
And so we're like, we can't even sleep on this. So we're like, well, what are we gonna do? Because like the like we can't sleep under this. So the option is what, to just lie on a bare like top sheet.
Right.
And so
and have the bare mattress below you. Oh god.
Exactly. So I guess, spoiler alert, this is not the Airbnb.
Right.
So
how'd that work?
We both, Sydney and I hate to do this, but we called Airbnb to complain, and we're like, we can't stay here. Like the bed's essentially wet. Even if we wanted to dry it, it requires like 8 quarters that we don't have, and another hour, and it was already like 1:30 at that point,
right,
in the morning. And so it's like, and so we called to complain, saying that, there was also something else. I'm glad I remember this. So there was half of a toilet paper roll and like a couple paper towels, and he's like, tomorrow morning I'll bring you more toilet paper and paper towels. And we're like, bro, how do you not even have this ready to go?
Right.
And so we called Airbnb. She did, because it was her account that it was through. And first they said that they're like, well, we'll only refund you for that night because this is a situation that's fixable. And like we'll pay you back for the hotel that you stay in for that night. And we're like, we don't really like. We already thought this place was a little shitty beforehand, and now now the bed already sucks. Like we don't really want to come back.
Right.
And so we ended up, we were on the phone with Airbnb. She was for like a solid, like almost hour or maybe 45 minutes.
Damn.
And finally, after all that, they're like, well, we'll refund you for one night, but that's the best we can do. And we're like, fine, whatever. And we're here for 3 nights.
Right.
But she got the confirmation email later, and it turns out they refunded her for the entire thing. So it kind of worked out.
Sweet.
And we ended up going to Troy, which is like a 15-minute drive away, and getting a normal hotel. And getting into the king-sized dry bed was heavenly. It was heavenly. And so I guess it ended up, it's more expensive, but it ended up working out essentially in the long run. But it was a bummer, It was definitely a bummer, especially at that time, where it's like, even if we wanted to, this is not a time to find another Airbnb. It's friggin' 2:30 in the morning at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how
this hotel's
only.
nice. I've been taking, this is Sydney's first time in Michigan, so I've been giving her the Metro Detroit tour. She's seen Ferndale, Royal Oak, Birmingham, Troy. I even took her to Somerset Mall, which is our rich person mall here in Metro Detroit. It was packed, bro. Yesterday, Saturday night, it was packed. I was like, I didn't even know malls still got this packed.
Right. It's summertime, man. That's why.
And so the mall was packed, and then what the hell was I about to say?
Showing around Michigan.
There was somewhere I was going with that. Oh, and I showed her Detroit as well. And there was somewhere I was going with that, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's been nice being here. You know, it's been nice being back home. And
I was just about to ask you if it feels like a homecoming.
A little bit. You know, I barely have to use my navigation.
That is a freeing feeling right there.
Yeah. I kind of feel like a tour guide a bit, which makes me stresses me out a little bit. Like today, I showed her around Detroit a little bit, but it was also raining, so it's kind of hard to do like a full tour thing, especially in Metro Detroit. Like, what's there to see?
Right.
But yeah, it's been cool, and obviously, I'm looking for a place to live, and we'll get to that later. But other than that, you know, it's good to be home. We went to, this is just a quick side. We went to like this restaurant just right around the corner kind of late last night. And when we were leaving, we saw this woman in her car drinking water. And she was like dancing hard.
Yes.
Well, yes. I think she was hammered.
Oh.
She left and she drove away, and she left, and she like, first we saw her drive away, and she like slammed the accelerator backing out of the place, and I thought she was about to slam into the car behind her, but she didn't. But the whole side of her, she had like a Jeep, the whole side of it was already like dented up. So
that's not a good sign.
And she drove away, and we were just like, oh, like I feel like should we say something like to who? What do we do? Call the cops and be like, hey, we didn't get the license plate or anything, but just find a wild dancing woman in a Jeep swerving down the street.
Right. Oh, that's wild.
But other than that, it's been good. How's it been going with you? You went on a fun trip today with your mentor.
I did. I've had my Saturday was non-eventful, but my Friday and my Sunday were pretty wild. So my Friday, I went to a Chomutov concert, which we'll get to later when we discuss the song of the pod.
Is that a Czech Macklemore?
I actually learned what the name of the band means, and it actually means Czech plague. Mor is plague.
Okay. All right. A little
so
teaser,
I guess when they first started...
Let's just save that for the song of the pod.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, so that was great. Went to a concert on Friday, which was awesome. And then today was pretty wild. So I went to Terezín, was the Czech name. In German, it's Theresienstadt. I have no idea what they call it in English. So we'll go with Terezín or Theresienstadt. Yeah.
That sounds like Teresa.
I guess. Yeah, it would be Teresa. And Terezín it used to be a part of, all of the Czech Republic was a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at one point. And they built a fortress there called, what's it called? It's called a small fortress in English. Kleine Feststellung in German.
Okay.
But the crazy thing about this fortress, though, Jared, is it not only served as a fortress to protect the Austro-Hungarian Empire from the Prussians, who were like the northern Germans back in the day, but also it was used as a labor camp and prison for people in World War I, and obviously many Jewish people during World War II. The Gestapo was there, which was like the Nazi police, secret police. So it was a heavy day. So we saw all the different solitary confinement cells, all these crazy jail cells. We went through the tunnels. And what's crazy about the tunnels, so the tunnels were built not when this was used as a jail, but when this was used more as a fortress to protect the regime at the time. And the tunnels, dude, it was crazy. So we went down this tunnel thinking it would be like a quick go around the corner, right? This tunnel went for, at least it was over 1,000 meters.
Damn.
No idea. Yeah. So it was really fun.
That's
what's crazy,
like a kilometer.
Though, yeah. And what's crazy about it is we were walking and walking and walking, and then we actually stumbled upon an English tour group in front of us in the tunnels. So we got to eavesdrop on the tour. And so it turns out that they have over 30 miles of tunnels in Terezín, which is crazy. Initially, when this was a fortress, they didn't have any lighting. So all of the soldiers had to memorize their routes. And obviously, as you can imagine, with miles and kilometers of tunnels, yeah, you can get very easily lost, right?
Yeah. They had flashlights back then, though?
Yeah. I'm assuming they did. And then the windows of these tunnels were big enough where you could fit 3 rifles through, so you would have snipers if the fortress were to be attacked. And this is the most unique fortress in Europe. At least that's what the tour guide said. I'm quoting the tour guide right now. I would agree with him because it was crazy the way it was set up. And there's a river by there. There's 2 rivers actually by where Terezin is. And what they would do is they would flood the moat with water from the river. So if the fortress were to be attacked, one, they'd have to climb up this hill, and they would probably get shot already by people guarding there. If they got through that, then they have to go through the moat. And the thing is with the moat, the water was just high enough it wouldn't drown you. But if you were carrying a weapon, weapons back then, well, I think even weapons nowadays, you can't get them wet. Otherwise, they won't work, right? So they had to carry their weapons above their heads like this while they were treading through the water. Obviously, when you have all those windows with 3 snipers in each window, you're done. So you couldn't even get past like the first couple walls of this fortress. And Napoleon even said that he thought about attacking, and then he realized his spies, went and looked at the fortress, and he realized like this place was basically impenetrable.
Yeah. That's cool.
So it was crazy. And then after that, we went to this other town called Litoměřice, which is this beautiful town near like the Czech Middle Mountains region. It's not in the Middle Mountains, but it's that region. And it was really cool. They had some really beautiful churches. This is actually where they have the bishops in this region. Although the Czech Republic is not a very religious place, you could definitely see the religious influences on this city. And yeah, it was a great little day trip. Had a wonderful conversation, multiple conversations with my mentor. And then lastly, on the way home, we made a quick pit stop that I was not planning on. I
thought that was a hilarious message you sent me. You're like, hey, we're going to have to push back the recording a little bit. We just made a quick stop at a castle.
Yeah. And so what happened was we were driving, and there's all these really cool old castles on the top of these Czech Middle Mountains, right? Or I don't know if they were the mountains or the hills or what you want to call them. But we're driving around, and she says, oh, by the way, we're going to stop at this castle. And I was looking at the time. I was like, I need to be, I didn't want to be rude. Plus, I only have a few more weeks with her as well, and she's fantastic. She's basically the equivalent of my Czech mom. You are. You're a great guy in general. But we'll save that topic for another time. But so
why Jared's amazing. Episode 104.
Right. Exactly. So we go up this hill, and then I see that the gate is closed. So I'm like, well, shit, we can't get in. And she's like, no, that gate's always closed. We got to hike up it. So thankfully it wasn't that long of a hike, but we hiked up it. And they have what they call the wisdom tree, which is this tree that looks like a wishbone. So it has, the root of the tree, the stem of it, and then it splits into 2 trees that looks like a wishbone. And so there's a little poem in Czech. Actually, here, I'll read it to you, Jared. My mentor actually translated it for me, and hopefully I can remember it. But I'll read it to you real quick. So it is called Strom Přání, which I think means like wish tree. And it says Poladho, which means like touch it or like stroke the tree. Požladeho. Oh shit, I don't remember these now. It was like
gator piss.
It was like stroke the tree, thank the tree, and like make a wish, more or less, is what the poem says.
Did you make a wish?
I did. I can't say it because then it won't come true.
Then it won't come true. Damn it.
I did make a wish. I can tell you the wish in a couple weeks.
Okay.
But yeah. And so this is what the castle looks like.
Damn, that's cool.
So it's this big tower. Yeah, it was sweet. And there was this beautiful view out where you can see the pretty Czech countryside. Yes. For all of our listeners, we'll pop this up on the gram. But it was awesome. It was great. Nice. So yeah, it was a wonderful day. Got to see some new places in the Czech Republic. And I got to tell you, man, Saturday, I didn't really do much. I played a lot of guitar. But Saturday, it really started to hit me like time's of the essence.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were sort of wasting your day away, spending that day just chilling and playing guitar?
Well, Saturday evening, I had some plans. But like during the day, I just kind of relaxed. I thought about going to the lake, but like, I don't know. I'm really worried going there by myself and then like leaving my stuff unattended somewhere. and then, coming back from a swim and then it's gone, right? Like if I don't have my apartment keys, I was not planning on taking my wallet or my phone, but if I don't have my keys, I have no way to get into my apartment to call my mentor to say, hey, I don't have my keys. I can't get into my apartment.
Right.
So I prefer to go to the lake with somebody. But Saturday it was super hot. And so I just chilled here and, learned a couple new songs on guitar and
Nice. One good thing about being in the Hampton Inn and Suites in Troy, Michigan is that, one of the places that I took, Sydney was talking about how she wanted to go to a thrift store. So I took her to a Salvation Army in Royal Oak. And we ended up getting bathing suits and we used the hotel pool. We actually, which was so much fun. I haven't been in a pool in a long time in general, but it was so funny. So they were when we got back from Salvation Army, we got back here. We just looked to see what the pool looked like, and we saw that there were 4 teenage boys in there. We're like, oh hell no! So we waited for an hour, and we went back down, and they were still in there. And we went back upstairs. We're like, all right, we'll come back down in 30 minutes, and they were gone. And it was so much fun. We went swimming. We went to the hot tub. Felt like a kid again.
That is awesome. You cannot go wrong with hopping in the hotel pool.
No, for sure. Except the ground's always kind of gross. But other than that, it is fun. It is fun. Anyway,
that is true.
Let's spread a little love.
Let's do it. I'm assuming you're looking at me because you're waiting for me to spread the love. So,
you betcha.
So I will. So my first one for all of our listeners out there who are under a rock, if you're unaware of what's going on in the States right now, it is Pride Month, which means we are here to support our brothers, sisters. I was trying to think of something clever there, but we'll just say brothers and sisters in the LGBTQ community. And this is a really heartwarming story. So there is a
brothers, sisters, and histers.
Sure, there you go.
Took a minute.
There is a gentleman named Scott Dittman who attended the Pride Parade in Pittsburgh and wore a shirt that said, what did it say? Free dad hugs. And he was with his wife who had a shirt that said free mom hugs. And for some of you out there, especially our hetero listeners out there who don't really understand some of the struggles that the LGBTQ community has to deal with, a lot of people are sadly either thrown out of their parents' houses, their parents don't approve of their lifestyle, their sexual orientation, whatever you want to call it. Apparently, Scott Dittman received over 700 hugs in 2.5 hours from individuals at the Pittsburgh Pride Parade on Saturday. And he said that this was a really insightful experience for him, getting a better understanding on issues that people in the LGBTQ community face in their personal lives, especially the relationships with their parents. So I think it's really a heartwarming story, and we cannot spread enough love to Mr. Dittman and also his wife for being there and supporting all of these people. We should love each other for who we are, regardless of our sexual orientation, and that includes our family.
I saw a bunch of those mom hug shirts while I was at the Pride Parade last week. Only one dad I saw with the dad hug shirt.
I'm not surprised, unfortunately.
But yeah, it was cool to see that for sure. That was something that hadn't even crossed my mind that I would see. I was like, oh, that's cool that that parents would want to do that.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't get love from their parents as soon as they try to be honest with them for once. It usually, doesn't go well. Not usually, but probably usually. Let's be real. It often doesn't go well. Let's just put it that way.
Right. I mean, depends on how accepting you're, and it seems like it's usually the father of the family, usually. And I think that's probably true, but if you're talking about a religious family, it's probably just both. Oh, for sure. Without a doubt. I know a few people who have either hid their sexual identity or told their parents, and their parents basically disowned them. Because of their religious beliefs. But what's really amazing about this is not only that, they were there supporting these people, but the fact that these people were so touched by this and willing to tell their own personal stories. And I think it's important. I remember I posted the rainbow flag on my Facebook profile years and years ago when we were still at Albion. And I remember getting some flack from some guy friends of mine. And I was like, what's the big deal? Like
Right.
it's just a rainbow flag. Like it's not like it's not like I have inappropriate pictures of like, people like having sex with each other. Like it's just me trying to support people who need the support, and there are a lot of straight people out there that don't understand it because, well, one, they'll never be in their shoes. But number two, they don't realize that being straight is the norm and what is accepted in pretty much actually all societies that I can think of. Right.
And because you don't experience that, it's easy to say, "Oh, what's the big deal?" Or
Right.
why you trying to why you putting that? It's like you're not gay, but it's yeah. But support is just as important because there's a whole bunch of people that just are ignorant to it just because they have the luxury of not even having to think about it.
Exactly, and it was all dudes. All dudes were the ones giving me flack for it.
Of course, it was.
and it's like, what are you trying to prove? Like, you trying to be macho? Because to me, it just sounds like you're being an insensitive prick right now. Like, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
So yeah, but anyways, we're here to spread the love. And my next shout out goes out to, I hope I pronounce his name properly, Nana Ya Osei Darkwa, who is helping Ghana see the forest for the trees. He is trying to plant a future with 20 million new trees. And so what's crazy is, Ghana has experienced serious deforestation in recent decades due to cocoa production, logging, and clearing of trees for agriculture, fuel wood extraction, and gold mining. And so what's crazy, though, is the West African nation of Ghana has lost half of its forests since 2000. And so in less than 25 years, Ghana could be left with only minimal forest cover. And so,
yeah, sounds like it.
So Osei Darkwa launched what they call the Green Republic Project in 2018, which is a youth-oriented initiative which uses trees to fight against climate change with a goal to have Ghanaian youth plant 20 million trees by 2028. So 20 million trees in 10 years. It's an amazing goal. So we send all of our love to you, Mr. Osei Darkwa. We thank you, and we hope that you are able to reach your goal and make an impact on climate change. So it's absolutely amazing.
For sure. Yeah, that's cool.
And my last one goes out to, we did a shout out a while ago on 21 Savage. Have you heard about what he's done, Jared?
21. No.
21 Savage has donated $25,000 to ensure detained immigrants have access to legal counsel.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's definitely necessary. Oh, I actually have a shout out, speaking of which.
Oh, let's hear it.
There was a terrible story going around the Twitter sphere the other day, and probably actual news publications too, let's be honest. But
meme news as well?
I think this is legit news.
Okay, fair enough.
There was a black family leaving, I believe, a dollar store, and one of the little kid who was like 4 or 5, she picked up some doll or something, and the parents didn't notice. And I don't think the store noticed either, but someone else called the cops. And the cop was, one of the cops that showed up was Mr. Super Cop, and he was like screaming at him, like pointing his gun at him and stuff. And I believe this is off the top of my head, but I believe the woman was also pregnant with another, and he was like, holding the gun and be like, screaming at him and all this shit about this little girl that accidentally picked up a doll, and the parents, I don't even think, noticed. And so it's a terrible story, of course. But Jay-Z offered up his legal team to represent that family, and they sued the whatever city it was in, but they sued the police, the police station or whatever, $10 million. And so Jay-Z offered up his legal team to support them and represent them, and I thought that was awesome.
That is sweet. I hope they win that case. A lot of
stories like that are terrible, and they either
have a way different ending too.
Yeah, either nothing happens or they don't get good legal representation because they can't afford it, and then the police station and the police officer just goes on doing their job because they have no ability to represent themselves or get someone that can represent them properly. So it's cool that first, new billionaire Jay-Z is offering up, I assume, his top-notch legal team to help them get the help that they clearly deserve for some straight-up bullshit.
Right. Oh, for sure. For sure. Nice. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What do they call Jay-Z?
Hove?
There we go. Yeah. Shout out to Hove.
Yeah. But, that's cool. But now, on to what's really important at the Untranslatable podcast, and that's the Untranslatable Owl signaling that it's time for some new Untranslatables.
You better believe it.
I have 3. I'll start. My first one's Tagalog. Shout out to Jeff for so I'm no longer calling it Tagalog. And the first one is Makati Angpa, which is literally translated to itchy feet.
Is that like when you're excited to do something, you got itchy feet?
You're very close.
Oh, really?
I'd say
okay.
you're yes, but I want you to finish it off. So you and I here at the Untranslatable podcast, I'd say every other Saturday when we record a Untranslatable Travel Tips episode, we get itchy feet.
So you're looking forward to something? You're anxious?
Why would we get itchy feet about travel tips episodes? Talking about all these new locations that people could go to?
Because it's helpful?
Itchy. All right. It's someone that enjoys going to new places.
Oh, duh. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Duh. Okay. Okay. That was too easy. That was too easy.
Yeah.
Well, Jared. So this one I think will be very obvious, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. So it's Czech. I have 3 Czech ones for you today.
Oh man,
and this
you're getting
is
real ballsy there, Chief.
You better believe it. This one is
betcha.
Meet Angielsko Trpvelost, which means to have the patience of an angel.
Okay, yeah, we say that. I think we'd say that in English too. English too. That just means to be very patient. Now,
can I ask you though? Mm-hmm. What do we actually say though? We have the similar English untranslatable. We don't use the term angel.
Oh, we don't? Is it none? I don't know. Who do you have the patience of?
You have the patience of a New Orleans football team.
Oh, of a saint. Gotcha.
Yep. Patience of a saint.
I've seen a lot of kids since I've been here, and I mean I see them everywhere. But since I've been here in Michigan, Cindy and I always joke about living that dink lifestyle, which is dual income, no kids, and seeing all these kids. Like I've seen so many kids since I've been here, especially being at the mall, in that position where the parents are grabbing them by one arm and they're just on the floor. You know that position.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, gross. I saw. We went to breakfast this morning. The girl that was there, she took off her shoe at the table and her feet were on the table. And I was like, oh my god.
Oh, please don't.
But yeah. All right. My next one is Spanish, specifically from Cuba, and it's let's see if I can actually say this right. Te cogieron. See, I know how to say it, but it is kind of a tongue twister. Te cogieron el culo. And you know what that last one is?
Te cogieron el culo?
Kojieron. Cogieron. Like, that's kind of a tough one for
I guess
my
a tough one to
American mouth.
Culo is ass or booty.
Yep. They grabbed your ass. Or like te, I guess, is you, technically.
Yeah. So it's like your ass was grabbed?
Essentially, yeah. No.
Is it like you've been fooled? You've been bamboozled?
Ooh. Switch it around. You haven't been fooled or bamboozled.
You fooled someone.
No. That's my bad.
No.
Someone's trying. No. Well, that's going to give it away. I'll give it to you. I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
Because you're on the right track, and I can't explain it in a way that would not just give it away. It's when you have been taken for a fool. So someone is trying to pull one over on you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's good that you got that one. That was not clear, I don't think. I don't think it was obvious.
I get it, though. I mean, I kind of thought of like pulling somebody's leg, but that's more like you're joking with them. You're teasing them.
Yeah, still. This one's like someone's trying to pull one over on you.
Right. They're
you grabbing my ass?
Oh, that's good. You grab my ass. So, Jared, my next Czech untranslatable, we're going to go from the booty up to the head, and this is pod čepici, which means under your cap.
Like you got a secret, or you're like you got like a tricks up your sleeve, maybe.
You know what? I think. Yep. The judges say yep. Yep. They give it to you. Basically, yeah. It's when someone's very clever, smart, and they have it under their cap. So they're smart, clever, resourceful, and they know their way around. So yeah, it's kind of like when you like the sentence they have here is like you have no idea what you're hiding under your cap. Same thing as like you have no idea what I've got up my sleeve.
Also, please, everyone, support the Untranslatable podcast with 5-star reviews. It's very expensive traveling with these judges. I drove to Michigan. They require first-class flights, and then I had to get them their own hotel room. This is a very expensive trip. My last one is also Cuban Spanish, and I'm going to leave the head and go right back down to the butt.
Yes. I'm sure Cuban Spanish has a bajillion booty untranslatables or culo
I got 2 right here. No le cabe un alpiste en el culo. Now, do you know what alpiste means?
I don't.
I don't either. I don't know which word it is. Cannot fit another bird seed into their butt.
Is that like they're full of it?
No, it's positive.
It's positive.
So I recently got a new job. I haven't started yet, but I got it. And I was telling my parents that I found a new job and I really liked the position. I thought it was good. And they said, wow, we cannot fit another birdseed in our butt.
So we couldn't be happier?
Yeah. I'm proud, but yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. All right, my last one is Czech, and it is tanoce jako strudel, which means to be
strudel?
as slow as an apple pastry or a strudel.
Is this just to be very slow, I would assume?
Yep.
Okay.
Be very slow.
Listen, these are obviously easy ones, but these are untranslatables nonetheless. And you've also done one every single episode, or done at least one every single episode for the past 10 months. So I think it's also good that we do get some of these easier ones out of the way.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Speaking of easier, nothing is... I thought this easy part of my whole unemployment was done when I found a job. That was definitely the hardest part. But finding a new place to live is so stressful. So... first step of it, then we'll talk about some other places, but let's just talk about the process as we see it here. We can even talk about your situation there. But first step was, even before I came here, was finding a list of places and areas that I wanted to live in and sort of getting the list together. And then I had to, it's even harder too when you're out of state, because if I want to visit these places, which you probably should, you got to do them all in like essentially a weekend. You got to plan it all so you can fit it in. So some places I thought were nice, I kind of just had to straight up give up on because, a lot of places also do open houses where it's just like, the realtor or whatever will will say, come to this house and check it out. And so some people would be like, oh, we're doing it only on Thursday. And, so I was like, well, I can't do that because I'm not going to be there on Thursday. So that place is not an option. So I got a list of about 4 places. We found, I think, 2 more while we were here to look at. And I just did, I just, go around, just drive around. Luckily, most of the places I'm looking at, or all of them, are in Royal Oak or Ferndale, which are right next to each other. And so I was really going in a radius of about like a 10-minute radius, maybe 5-mile radius. And, you look at places, and then eventually I did find a place I like, but then of course, that's just the beginning of the stress, is finding the place. But then you also got to make sure you apply to it before other people did. So I found it at around, and I decided that I really wanted that one at around 4 o'clock. So I called the realtor woman to let her know, but she didn't answer because it was a Saturday. So I called, left a message, let her know that I was interested in applying. And then through Zillow, which is a website where you could it aggregates a bunch of places for sale and rent. You can also request the application. So I did that there too. I did my due diligence. And then today's Sunday.
Good work.
I don't know what the protocol is because these people that do like home management or like real estate seem like they're always on, but it seemed wrong to contact them on a Sunday. So I didn't do that. But there's an open house for this place on Monday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So first thing Monday morning, I'm calling again to make sure I can get that application before the open house even happens.
Good call.
And,
good call.
Yeah, and then usually the usual thing here, I mean, I don't know with this place specifically because I haven't done it yet. You have to pay to apply usually. It's cheap. It's like $20, $50. It's usually more like a processing kind of fee because most people or companies do that through some sort of website situation. And then to actually get the place, usually it's like first month's rent, last month's rent, and then some sort of security deposit. And so it's actually kind of prohibitive for a lot of people to get into places.
It's expensive, yeah.
There's that whole stat about like how like a vast majority of Americans don't even have like $1,000 if they were in some sort of emergency, and that for most places that people would be looking at, first, last, and security deposits probably going to be more than $1,000, even if it's an affordable place, and it makes it tough for a lot of people. And going on tours is kind of annoying because you got to answer the same question over and over again. Ask the same questions over and over again. But it is kind of fun seeing a whole bunch of different places. Some places we saw, like there were a couple places I saw where I was like, oh, this place is nice. Then you go into the bathroom and it's like, it looks like they haven't cleaned the bathroom in years. There's so much mold in this one bathroom. It was disgusting. And there was masking tape around the actual faucet of the bathroom. I was like, first of all, masking tape? What a weird tape choice.
Right.
Second of all, I don't want to see any tape on a faucet.
Nope, that's not good.
But there's a lot of mold in there too. And I was like, man, this is a bummer because I like this place, but I could not handle this bathroom.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit.
But another good thing about, and then we'll get into another thing I wanted to talk about. Another good thing about moving from Philadelphia here to Michigan, standard of living. So I would like to ask you. First, we'll start with the world, then we'll get to the U.S. What are the most expensive places, cities, essentially, cities to live in the world? I have the top 10.
Dubai's got to be up there.
It is not up there. I thought it was up there too because when I was looking for this list, Sydney was around and we were quizzing each other. I thought Dubai had to be up there as well, and it was not.
Okay, Switzerland, Zurich.
Yeah.
Parada.
Switzerland's on the list twice.
So probably Zurich and either Bern or Lucerne?
No, Geneva.
Oh, duh. Okay. Let's see here. I'm sure Washington, D.C. is up there, right?
No, not for the world.
Okay, really?
Not for the world.
There are U.S. ones in there, though, aren't there?
There is two U.S. cities on this list.
L.A.
There you go.
Parada. And is the other one in California as well?
No, but I thought it would be. I'm surprised.
I did too. So then New York City?
Yep.
Parada. Ooh, all right.
And those are, and by the way, so Switzerland, the two Swiss ones are 4th and 5th. And 7th is New York, and it's tied with another country or city and country. And Los Angeles is 10th.
Okay. Oh,
so
wow.
some of these are tied.
Really?
So like there's the top 10, but like
so what can be more expensive than New York and LA and Zurich and Geneva, Hong Kong?
Ooh, very good.
Parada.
Hong Kong is tied number 1 with a couple other cities.
Couple other what? Okay.
There's
so Hong
3
Kong's
kind of top
1.
places.
Oh, Tokyo. I bet you Tokyo's up there.
No, Tokyo is on the list. No. Tokyo is not on the list, but another Japanese city, Osaka, is on the list.
Really? Okay. Seoul? Is Seoul?
Yep.
Seoul's not that expensive. Really?
No, it is. Yep.
Okay.
It's tied with New York, actually.
In 7th?
Yep.
Okay. So what's number 1 then? What's tied with Hong Kong?
Singapore's number 1.
Okay.
Paris is also in the top spot.
Oh, duh. Okay.
And then it's Zurich and Geneva, then Osaka, then Seoul, then Copenhagen, surprisingly, is an expensive place to live.
Oh, I don't know why I didn't think about the Scandinavian countries. That's true. Okay.
But that's the only one on there.
Okay.
And then Tel Aviv is expensive as well. I already said New York. And Los Angeles.
Okay.
Now, this is interesting because I got this list from the same website. And it seems like the most expensive places to live in the U.S. kind of contradicts this a little bit. But let's go to the most expensive places in the U.S.
So, LA, San Francisco.
San Francisco's number 1, and LA's number 7.
Okay, weird.
But how is that
Okay.
possible? Because San Francisco's not on, and it's just from the same website. But anyway, that doesn't matter.
Right. Huh.
I also have for the U.S. ones. I have the average cost of rent. Take a guess on what San Francisco's
Ooh,
average cost
San
of rent
Francisco?
is.
Probably $2,000 a month.
Yeah, for a broke boy like you,
$3,000 a month.
$3,590.
Ooh, that is a lot of money. God
You gotta be
damn.
balling, man. I mean, our buddy Don lives in San Francisco. He's moving to Denver soon, but he lives in San Francisco. And his rent, actually, I think he's probably officially moved at this point. His rent was about a little more than $1,000, and he had a room. And when I mean a room, I mean there was really nothing else to
little
do in
baby
that room
room,
except
yeah.
for sleep.
Right. Huh. Okay. Dang, dude, for $3,500, that would be a mortgage on a house payment, a really nice house in Michigan.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm looking into leasing a house, and it's cheaper than my rent in Philadelphia.
Right. Okay. So was San Fran number 1?
Yep, and you should know number 2.
That's Washington, D.C.
No. It was on the other list.
So L.A. or New York.
There you go.
New York. Okay.
And average rent there is $3,300.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Number 3, excuse me.
What's number 3?
Boston,
Okay. With what? Probably 2,700.
23. It drops
Okay.
off drastically after those top 2.
Okay.
Oakland, which is in the close
California.
to San Francisco, is 22. 22.8, so about 23. San Jose, which is in the same area as Oakland and San Francisco, is 22.7. DC is 22. Los Angeles is about 1,900. Actually, about 2,000. It's 1970. Miami, about 1,900. Chicago, 1,790. And Seattle at 1,750.
Damn. That's crazy.
I have
Notice
a perfect
nowhere
example.
from
of that.
Michigan's on that list.
That's true. My buddy slash cousin Chris, who we both know well, he was talking about he loves real estate and stuff. That's hilarious. He loves real estate and stuff. Did we talk about that here? I think we did. We don't have to. If you did, I highly recommend finding that. If we did. If we didn't, then we'll just keep it that way for Chris's sake. So he was talking about how he really likes California. He was talking about how he would love to buy a place in San Francisco, in San Diego. But he's
Beautiful
also
city, by the way.
It is. It's also a pricey city. He's also from Detroit. He's from the Detroit area. And so he knows a lot about real estate there, and he also, I'm sure, looks at the real estate a lot in San Diego. So a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, he found that's 1,028 square feet, which is small for people using the metric system. This goes for $799,000, $800,000. In Detroit,
That's expensive.
In Detroit, I want you to guess bedroom, bath, and square footage of a place you could get in Detroit.
For that price?
Same price, $800,000.
I mean, I have seen multifamily apartment units go for that much in Detroit. So
Okay.
I would guess, I don't know, you could probably get like anywhere from 4 to 6 bed, probably 3 bath in there would be my guess.
How many square feet are you thinking?
I have no idea. I'm terrible.
You don't know
with
how to do
square
that?
feet. Square,
Okay. Well,
yeah,
3,000
terrible.
is about the size of like a medium-sized house. Maybe a good sized medium-ish sized house.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with like
3 to 4.
I'm gonna go 4 to 5,000 square feet.
Okay.
For that price.
720 West Boston Boulevard, Detroit, Michigan. For $800,000, you can get an 8-bedroom, 6-bath, 9,000 square foot house. This house is gorgeous,
Wow.
dude. Let's see if I
Wow.
can show you a picture of it.
Oh my, yeah. No, damn.
Or if you were to go to Grosse Pointe, which is considered a rich person area here in
Right. Yeah,
in
in Michigan
Michigan
for sure.
For the same price, there is a 6-bed, 5-bath, 5,500 square foot house. For the same price of a
2 bed.
2-bedroom, 1-bath in San Diego, that's 1,000 square feet. So 9 times the size and 4 times the bedrooms and 6 times the bathroom.
This just reiterates that I never want to. I love California, but I would never want to live there. It's so expensive.
Dude, I was considering looking for jobs. Like, there were some places that I thought had cool jobs in Northern California. There's a lot of like cool tech stuff going on there, both car related and not. But I was like, I can't do it. I'm not willing. First of all, I'm not willing to go back to having a roommate. I haven't had a roommate in a long time. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't want to. I like, it's going to totally ruin any standard of living you have because all your money goes towards your rent, and I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing living alone. If you're
Yes.
used to it, I really enjoy it for sure.
Yeah, the first place I lived was after college was with Don, and it was fun. I like living with him, especially since he's social, so he got me out of the house. But like, as soon as I moved to Philadelphia and started living by myself, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going back. I can't do it. So much freedom.
Right. Yeah,
I love the freedom.
It's great, but at the same time, I feel like you can definitely get stuck becoming a recluse and not doing anything and just staying at home all the time.
Yeah, for sure. You're preaching to the choir.
Right.
Another thing I found interesting. Now we're going to Europe.
Okay.
Now I'm going to more quizzing for you. I like this.
Okay.
When Europeans, I want you to name. So their list of countries from highest to about the youngest of when Europeans leave their parents' home. So usually, now this isn't normal, but at least where I come from, meaning my household, in my head, and I think in my parents' head, once I graduated from college, it was time to. That was when I would find my own place. Like in my head, at least I don't know if my parents didn't specifically say that to me, but that's what I felt like. Was like, once I'm done with college, it's time for me to move out and find my place. And so like I moved back into my parents' place for like 3 months. But that was really just the process of me finding a place to live. Yep. And even while I was there, I had a strong feeling that I got to get out of here.
Sure, it's that transition phase.
Yeah. You know, your parents asking you where you're going, what time you're coming home, who you hanging out with. Like, don't worry about it, Mom. I'm an adult now.
Right. A graduated mom.
I assume it seems like you probably had a similar feeling too, to where it was like, and it kind of helped too that you were going to grad school, so it kind of naturally got you back out of the house. But it seemed like you didn't really have any plans to really like go back. And you're in a little different situation because you do these different sort of teaching assignments which don't allow you to get like a permanent place to stay really. Mm-hmm. But I guess you did when you were in grad school. You were in that place for like 4 years.
4 years straight. Yep.
But
Oakwood.
Yeah. Now in the situation that you're in, it causes you to come back for a couple months and relive with your parents, and we'll actually in a couple weeks talk about what that's like. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, it'll be interesting.
I was actually talking to. So I went to a great breakfast place this morning that I love to go to, and they have homemade jams, and
nice.
It wasn't that good. What it made me think was I need to get that real good, that real crack that your mom
Mama
makes.
Cindy
that strawberry
homemade jam.
Yeah,
can't be beat. I'm gonna be honest, it cannot be beat.
I was talking about how like your mom's given me a few jars, and this rate at which I eat it is embarrassing.
Dude, you should have. You're not that far from my parents. You could easily swing by and grab some.
I mean, I'll be back soon. That is
true. That is true.
I don't need to get hooked to this crack this early.
That's true.
Because I'm going to finish it even before I get back to Philadelphia. And I'll be like calling your mom. Hey, can you just send me one? I know I'm going to be back soon.
Your girlfriends are going to come back to the room when we're done recording. And you're just eating it with a spoon. Like, what are you
all
eating?
Over my face and hands. Right. I'm just sticking my finger in there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, though, you're right. Like, yeah, I had the place in East Lansing for 4 years, which was great. And I liked that because it was a location. The rent didn't go up too much. I paid, so it was one. I couldn't tell you what the square footage was, but it was one bedroom.
Small. Not small, but it wasn't small. That's not the right way to put it.
It wasn't a studio. It wasn't a studio apartment, but it was
right.
I had a bedroom,
800 square feet, maybe a
little
less than that.
I think that actually sounds about right. I remember when I first took a look at it, I thought he said somewhere around the 8s for square feet.
That's actually pretty good for an apartment too.
Yeah, and the location was great. It had a pretty decent sized bedroom. walk-in closet, bathroom, kitchen, little dining area, and a living room. And I was within walking distance to most things. I mean, I drove to school every morning just because it was a lot quicker, and I had a parking pass, so why not? But I think I paid my last year there, I think I paid about $600 a month, which was all right for having my own place. It was perfect. But yeah, it's a big change going from having your own place to going back to your parents. And we can talk about it in a couple weeks.
It seems like for some Europeans, it's harder for others. So the average, and this is the EU specifically, so that'll help narrow it down a little bit. So the average age that Europeans fly the nest in the EU is 26 years old. Now, obviously, there's some that are above that, and there are some that are below that. And now you probably won't get the first one, so I'm just going to give you the first one.
Okay.
The first one is Montenegro. Excuse me, that's the oldest. The oldest
Montenegro.
How old do you think people in Montenegro leave their home?
28. 28.
32 and a half is the average age that people leave their home.
But see, I bet you it's because they probably help out with their parents and they do stuff.
All right,
Would be my guess. I mean, different cultures. Right. I mean, I know a few people from China that live in their parents' house forever because that's just kind of how the culture is.
Well, there are definitely also a lot of cultures around the world. Even in the U.S., this is kind of a thing, especially in more religious households where it's almost wrong to, especially for women, because we also live in sexist. Most cultures are very sexist as well.
Unfortunately,
it's wrong for them to, but this is also in some, for males too. It's sort of uncouth or wrong to leave the house before you're married. So you move out and move in with your husband or wife, and that's the first time you live alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think are some other old people that need to get out of their parents' house? Some other countries where people need to grow up, get out of the house.
Grow up and get out of the house. I don't even know where to begin. No idea.
Okay, well, let's start from the bottom then. What do you think are some cultures where do you think that they're quick to get out of the house? I
think Germany.
Germany is 1, 2, 3, fifth from the bottom. They get out at about 23.7, which makes sense. Sort of a post-college, I would say. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they're not the youngest.
France?
The youngest is actually no. France is about on par with Germany at about 24 years old. The youngest are also. It's interesting because the top 4 are places that we've often talked about for having amazing standards of living, and I think this
Finland
is the third at 21.9, essentially 22.
Okay.
Number 1 is Sweden at 21. Okay. 2 is Denmark, 21.1. 4 is Netherlands at
cool. Okay.
At 23.6. So it's interesting. Those Scandinavian countries are way ahead of the rest because it goes 21 for Sweden, 21 for Denmark, and then 21.9 for Finland, and then the next jump up is Netherlands at 23.6.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. But I must have something to do with a good standard of living, because those are also expensive places to live.
Right.
But it seems like they don't have problems getting out of the house.
I also wonder, though, too, if they get government assistance, if they study at university or when they're
possibly
young, because, I mean, the reason why we, in theory, moved out of our parents at 18 was because we started, college.
Right.
Had I not started... Go ahead.
I don't consider that moving out. When I tell people the age I moved out of my parents' house, I would say 22 or 21 or whatever. 22. I don't really consider going to college moving out, especially since my parents were heavily supporting me in college.
Well then in that case, dude, this would have been the first year I moved out at 26, 27. Because I was still going to college. I mean, I was going to grad school, but it's still.
But were they still paying for your rent and stuff?
Of course not. No, I was paying for all that.
I'd say you were generally supporting yourself, though.
For the most part, yeah. I'd say 80%.
That's why I don't count at least college for me. Is because I had no ability to support myself in undergrad.
Right, me either, for sure. It would be way too expensive.
You had the ability to support yourself in grad school, and so I'd consider that, even though you were technically still in college, I'd consider that moving out? Because maybe you weren't 100% on your own, but I'd say you were
Right.
probably more on your own than not as far as
For
finances
sure.
go.
And
Right.
got my grad school paid for as well. So
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they weren't paying
Yeah,
for
all
or
right,
helping
that's
pay for
fair.
that either.
exactly. I mean, they would help me out occasionally with like groceries, car repairs, things like that. But I think at the time my mom was still paying my cell phone bill. But a lot of
Well,
other
let me be honest
stuff.
with you. I'm still on my parents' family plan,
Nice.
and I theoretically could get my own, but I'm not. Well, they listen to this sometimes. I'm not going to mention it
Watch out, Jared. Watch out.
to their
Oh,
face
that's
at
funny.
least.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Until I
so
absolutely have to.
So then it was 22 for me. 21,
Okay.
22.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that's interesting though too is the different types of living arrangements, right? Like I think a lot of young people in the States and also in Europe, they tend to move to an apartment or a flat, which makes sense because you
Yes.
don't have the capital to buy a house. Although I did have a friend in grad school. Now it helped that her husband was working full time and made pretty decent money. They bought a house, and actually their house payments were less than my rent payments per month. And then they ended up selling the house when they moved. So that was a good
Make some
financial
money
play by
off it, I
them.
assume.
Right. Whereas I was not in the
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was not in the financial situation where I could do that at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I would love to. We've talked, especially you. You talk a lot about wanting to buy a house and all that stuff and getting into real estate. And I mean it's great like financially, but the barrier to entry is high because you have to have a level of down payment
sure.
at least like 10 or 20%. And then there's taxes and stuff and that you usually have to pay up front. But as far as then actually getting a mortgage, usually that it would be a lot of times cheaper than what like the rent would be in an equivalent place.
Right.
And you can make some money off of it theoretically because houses tend to be appreciating assets if the economy is not doing terribly.
Right. Get that cash flow, fam. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Jared, I want to talk though about a couple other types of housing arrangements around the world, because not everywhere has just your standard apartments, and there's some really interesting types of housing around the world. And the first one I'm going to start with, we are going to be in Central Asia in Kyrgyzstan. I actually have a buddy from Kyrgyzstan. And they have yurts over there. And what a yurt is basically it's a portable tent that traditionally is composed of animal skins. And these structures were intended as temporary shelters that would allow them to, live that nomad lifestyle where they were moving around. Now, though, with different and more contemporary construction methods and access to new materials, now yurts can also be used as permanent housing, which is pretty cool. And they look like this kind of white, kind of cylindrical with the top of a point kind of house. And they're really cool looking. And so that's one type of housing out there. I'm curious what it would cost to build a yurt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the people that live in those are not hiring like a construction company to build it for them. So it's probably more how much is your time worth and how much are the materials that it costs to build that. I remember, now I want to hear more from your list, but I remember when I was in Tanzania. Now, if you're in, I hate that sort of stereotype that like, oh, where do y'all live in huts in the bush? Because there are real cities in Tanzania. But
sure, but it's also true.
I was going to say, but I was in a small village for a lot of my time there, and there were, it's interesting. You could tell like there were a lot of it was self-built stuff, but you can tell the sort of the financial situation of people based off of the material that it's built out of. So there is there's like a mud kind of stone thing that was often used with more of a straw sort of roof, and those were like very poor people, and those were usually had like dirt grounds and stuff. And the thing about those is they're not as like sturdy. They break down quicker, obviously. But from there it would go up. So sometimes you'd see dirt ones with metal roofs. So maybe you still had the dirt, but you could afford a better roof. Or if you're really balling in the bush, there was you could buy bricks. You could pay for bricks. and usually if you're paying for bricks, you could also probably afford like a metal roof.
Right.
And so there were varying levels. You could even see areas where because they would sun dry a lot of the bricks. So you could see even like the varying like price points of brick in the areas where they were being dried, from like the more traditional bricks that we're used to here in the U.S. down to just mud that's been formed and dried in the sun.
Interesting. Did you and you stayed in some of those?
No, we stayed in like a hotel. It was built, I guess you'd say, traditionally. I don't know.
Okay.
We did not stay in one of those. No.
Damn, I'd be curious to hear what it's like to stay in one of those huts.
That would be quite an experience.
For sure. Well, I want to tell you though about the dugouts in Coober Pedy, a southern Australian. Thank you. Southern Australian town, which is known for its dugouts, which are special shelters built beneath the Earth's surface, usually out of, I believe they're like, looks like marble of some sort, or like it says the opal capital of the world. So, according to Smithsonian Magazine, these underground homes act as an oasis from the outback's heat. Summer temperatures reach a swelling 113 degrees Fahrenheit. That'd be around, 40, 42 degrees Celsius, I believe, somewhere in that ballpark.
I mean, you would know better than me.
Somewhere in that ballpark. Also occasional dust storms. So half of the town's residents, as well as a museum, a church, and even a hotel, have opted for this underground style of housing. And if you just Google underground houses in Australia, you can see them, and they look awesome. They look really, really cool.
I actually have recently heard about that. I've never actually like seen any of them, but I the only reason I knew how to say Coober Pedy is because I literally just heard about those like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice. Another really fascinating style of home.
Oh, these are cool.
Yeah, they're sweet, aren't they?
They kind of look like the house that the guy from Star Wars lived in.
Oh, that's true.
Skywalker?
Yeah, you're right. Another crazy one, too, is the cave homes they have in Matmata, Tunisia, which are, these are ancient abodes that have been carved out of sandstone. Sandstone, I can't talk this evening, to keep people comfortable all year long. And so it's usually situated around a central pit and connected by a network of passageways. And these properties provide protection from North African sun and desert winds, which is pretty cool. And some of these cave homes around the world have also been turned into unique cave hotels. So if you're traveling somewhere, check that out. That might be really cool to visit. Yeah, that would be really sweet, right?
It's cool to see how different people like adjust to their climates.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
For example, like the some Native American tribes that live in places like Alaska, have like what do you call? Oh, igloos, and you would think and they. Oh, were you about to talk about that? All right, just keep going. You have more information.
You bring me to our next one, which is in Baffin Island, Canada, which are igloos, and igloos are basically sheets of snow and ice that are created to keep people warm and insulated out of the cold elements. And so, what's crazy is that igloos are deeply connected to Inuit culture, and there's a lot of different styles of igloos that they make. But what's amazing is I've actually built an igloo with a few friends of mine in Michigan. And when you go inside, especially if you are able to get most of the snow off the ground, at least where we were, it was really warm inside. Like, it wasn't bad.
I think any kid from Michigan has experience doing that. And and I think the way that they do it is that they like first it's like, I mean, obviously theirs are better than the ones that we made in middle school.
Oh, for sure.
But
for sure.
At least if I'm not mistaken, I could be totally wrong, and I'm willing to take that risk, is that they have like sheets of ice that are sort of like the structure of it. Then you put snow on top of that. And I believe that insulates it pretty well.
It does. And then the last few types of housing I'd like to discuss are all of the different kind of boat houses you get on the canals, especially if you go to Amsterdam. There are tons and tons of them. They look awesome. They also have them in some canals in England as well, which is pretty sweet. Canal boats
France
in
too.
London. Right. Anywhere where there's canals, I'm sure there are houseboats.
That's true. You could do it anywhere there's,
But the other two cool ones that I really like are there's a big movement now called the tiny house movement. And these are minimalist design houses, usually where the top of the house is a loft where you sleep. The bottom of the house might be big enough for a very small kitchen and maybe a tiny little living room with a small couch. So tiny houses are sweet. And
Do you really think that's cool?
Oh, I think they're awesome. I think they're so awesome.
You don't think you need more space than that?
I mean, look, I don't think I could live there permanently, but having like a little tiny house as a cabin somewhere, for sure, without a doubt,
would be cool.
Would be awesome.
Yeah. That would be cool.
I think you could live in a tiny house. You would just have to. I think in at least Western culture, we're very hoarder-ish with our things.
Yes.
And so you would have to really be able to pare down and get rid of things that might have sentimental value. That I think at the end of the day, though, you'd probably realize it wasn't actually as important to you as you thought. The big thing is obviously our FOMO, or fear of missing out, where you're worried, oh, well, if I don't have this cool T-shirt from college, I can't. Yeah, it's stupid.
That's something that even though I'm going to be moving soon, and it's obviously a terrible, exhausting process, but it is a great way to clear out some of that crap that you have.
Get rid of that clutter for sure.
Because it definitely makes me really decide how important do I think this is, and a lot of times the answer is not as important. It's just been sitting on my table for essentially years at this point. I've just been too lazy to decide what to do with it.
Right, exactly. And my problem with if I were to move into one of these tiny houses, I've actually toyed with the idea. My biggest problem, though, Jared, as you know, would be my guitar collection.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
You couldn't decide on, say, 3 guitars?
I actually have had this talk before. Shout out to Danielle. Where I would narrow it down to maybe 2 or 3 guitars if I had to. One electric.
What would it be? Yeah, I was about to say.
One acoustic. And then the acoustic would probably be a classical. And then maybe either one other electric or one other like a steel string acoustic. But I think I could even go out on a limb and say I could narrow it down to 2, an electric and an acoustic.
Right.
If I had to.
What would be? I mean, you have a bunch of guitars. What would be your go-to electric if you had to choose one and burn them all the other ones, Jimi Hendrix style?
Probably. Well, either the Fender Stratocaster I've had since high school, but it wasn't really a mistake, but I bought a really nice Telecaster before I left for the Czech Republic. So probably that one. That one I just don't have the sentimental value to it yet because I got it right before I left. But that's actually what I used to record our intro song, believe it or not, is that new Telecaster.
So, but
Parada.
It would definitely be a Fender then.
Yep. It'd be, because the thing is, so the other guitars I have, electrics, are, like 2 of them are hollow bodies, and hollow bodies are cool, but number 1, they take up tons of space, and 2, because they're hollow bodies, you have to make sure you really clean the insides of it, otherwise you can get crackling and different things with the electronics. So I would want a guitar where the electronics aren't as easily exposed to the elements. Exactly. And with the Fender guitar too, they were designed where if I broke something on it, it's easily fixable. With the other guitars, the neck is inserted into the body. So if the neck breaks,
you can't just take it off.
Right. You could re-glue it like a professional luthier could do it, but I do not have those skills. I do have enough skills where I could grab a screwdriver, unscrew it, and slap another one on there.
That's what you call a guitar fixer, is a luthier?
Yeah, luthier.
I've never heard that word before.
Yeah, luthier. And
I guess I've never needed it, but
that's also like I don't know about a piano builder, but like a violin builder, cello builder, they're all luthiers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never
instrument
heard that word
builder.
before.
It's a fancy word for instrument builder. But so the tiny houses are sick, and a lot of them you can also put them on wheels, and so that means they're portable. So if you wanted
get a trailer,
yeah. So if you wanted
hook it up to Vic.
Exactly. That's my car, by the way, people. Hook it up to my 97 Crown Victoria and head out to the woods up north in Michigan and just become I don't even know what the correct term would be. But yeah, the other type of housing, though, that I think is awesome that's become popular in the last few years is shipping container housing. Where which is sweet. So people take these old shipping containers and they basically remodel them. I think a shipping container will cost you, one shipping container, I believe, will run you $2,000 to $4,000 US, and most houses will have 2 to 3. But I think once you actually do the electricity and insulate it and everything, I think I could be wrong with this number, but from what I've read, I think most shipping container houses will run you anywhere from 10 to 50 grand. But if you look at how much a house will cost, that can be a lot cheaper than a house, but it's also going to be a lot smaller as well, depending on how many shipping containers you use.
I like the idea of, say, having like a big piece of land, and just as you make more money, adding onto it with more and more shipping containers,
and
until
you
you
can
have
do
like
that.
a labyrinth of shipping containers.
Exactly, which would be pretty
That'd be
sweet.
cool. There's a place in Philadelphia called the Cherry Street Pier, I think. Oh, it's actually, on our story a couple days or weeks ago, I had that Libertad art piece that I showed you.
Oh, yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
So there they have like it's like kind of like I guess you'd call it like an artist collective. And they have like 2 stories of shipping containers. And artist, whether it's a musician, musical artist or painting or whatever, you could rent out one of those containers, and it's like a little office that you can have there.
Oh,
and
cool.
There's like windows in it, so you can like I went there like at night on a Saturday, so nothing was really happening. But if you go during the week, you could watch people do their art and stuff,
which is pretty awesome. Another type of housing that's really cool, and you could go on YouTube and find people making these, are very, very basic log cabins for like hunting or camping. And it's crazy.
Yeah, they actually make kits for that you can buy.
Right. And well, the crazy thing is too, I've seen videos of guys in like Alaska and other places where they will, chop down whatever trees are near there and can build up a log cabin within like a couple days or a week. Now, it's not very big.
What?
It may not have electricity unless you get like a generator out there, but it's really cool. And it just goes to show you that if you're willing to be creative and if you're willing to take the time and the effort, you can really build something that could be a decent place for you to stay. Maybe not live permanently. That would probably take a lot more time and money, but it is doable definitely for like a vacation home or cottage, which is also super common here in the Czech Republic. A lot of people have a weekend cottage that they go to in the mountains, which is pretty sweet.
My piano teacher was when we went to the last Red Velvet Hall concert, she was telling me, we drove past this house that she said that someone that she knew, it was a good-sized house, bought the house and totally knocked it down and built an entire new house by himself.
Oh, wow.
And while he was building it, it took a couple of years, but while he was building it, him, his wife, and I believe 1 or 2 kids lived in a trailer that they had right next to the property. And I was like, that is crazy. And just imagine how satisfying it is to live in a place that you built entirely by yourself. I mean, I'm sure you had help, but like there was no like companies and stuff. It was just like his hands and stuff. That's got to be ridiculously satisfying.
I actually have a friend of my ex's who they do the same thing actually. They are staying in a trailer right now and they're working on building their house or making renovations to it, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's awesome too.
It's really amazing.
I feel like I wouldn't even they wouldn't even know where to begin with that. But I guess theoretically, if I really cared or wanted to, I could figure it out too.
You need a plan. You just need a plan, and I think.
Well, never mind.
I think it's doable. I mean, my uncle and my cousin built their. They ended up building their cabin there in Red Lodge, Montana, for the most part by themselves. And I think it took him a couple of years. He bought the land first and then built that. But it was pretty cool.
Well, if you're going to be building your own house, it's going to take some time, and you better have a pretty good playlist to be blasting some tunes while you're doing that.
You better believe it.
Speaking of which, we should talk about our song of the pod.
So our song of the pod for this week is by a group called Chomutov, which means in Czech, the Czech plague, which I know almost sounds like a metal band title, but they are actually a group that fuses folk music, Czech folk music, with rock music. Now, the song that we have is less rock and much more folk, but it is called Proměny, which means metamorphosis. And before I talk about it, what are your thoughts on the song, Jared?
Clearly, they're very popular. They were playing on a very big stage. and everyone, you showed me, it was like a live performance. Everyone was singing along to it. You could hear.
Yep.
When I first heard it, it sounded like a movie score to me. It almost felt like I was watching like Czech Game of Thrones or something like that.
That's fair. That's fair.
It had a very so picture Lord of the Rings or something like that, and that's sort of the vibe or you can just listen to it if you follow us on Twitter. I'll post it there, or go to our Song the Pod playlist on YouTube. But it had a very it almost felt like in a weird way. I know this doesn't really make sense, but it felt like more of a composition than a song. Like it had more of like an arc to it rather than like a go back to the chorus, couple new verse, go back to the chorus.
Right. Right. It's in some ways, like I would say the music does not sound like Queen, but it has that style of Queen has a lot of songs that doesn't have like a set chorus, verse, outro, right? So yeah, you're right. It has like a beautifully orchestrated intro. And so the reason why I chose this song is I watched them play it live on Friday, and it blew my mind. Now, I didn't understand what they were singing. But
that's what makes music so great. You don't even have to get the vibe and what they're getting at.
Right. I mean, but the way I didn't know the title of the song, but my Czech ear is good enough that I picked up a couple of the words, and I Googled those, and then I found the song. But they played the song live, and what was cool was there were these three younger guys in the band who were the rhythm section, guitar, drums, bass. I would guess they were probably in their mid to late 20s or early 30s. And then the two front men, one plays a violin, the other one plays guitar. They both sing, and they harmonize really well. They've got to be in their 60s, easily in their 60s. And then they had this woman come out and sing this song with them. And it just blew my mind. The harmonies, the music, everyone in the crowd was singing along. It was really a sight to see, and they were awesome. So yeah.
How'd you end up at this concert?
So my mentor said, yeah, this band is coming to Chomutov at they call it the Letní Kino, or summer cinema, where it's basically this big outdoor pavilion where you can have live concerts.
I love that.
Yep, live concerts and stuff. And it was great. I'm no point in showing you pictures. I'll just post them later. But so it was a great concert. They were absolutely fantastic. Czechomor. And yeah, so they played Promieny, which means metamorphosis. And it blew my mind. And the crazy thing is the rhythm guitar player, or I don't know if he was rhythm or lead, doesn't really matter. He played the clarinet, I believe.
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure it was the clarinet. So he played this intro on clarinet, and then the other guy played it on violin, and it was just great.
Was your mentor singing along too?
Of course. Of course. And I mean, I didn't know what they were saying, but I still got goosebumps. That's the power of music, and they were awesome. The concert was, I think, about 2 hours long or so.
It's a good concert.
Hour and a half. But yeah, it was
good.
Great. Yeah, it was great. So check them out. Czechomor, Promieny on our Twitter, Untranslatable One, or our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcasting. It will be up there. And speaking of Czech, I have two Czech words of the pod for you today, Jared. A little twofer.
Man, really my first one, that Czech today.
That's right. My first one is dumm. And no, it's not like German dumm as in dumb. Dumm.
Is it home?
Very good. Ooh. Very good. And my next one for you, Jared, is bit. Bit.
Rent?
It's not a home, but a...
apartment?
There you go.
Oh, interesting. Bit. The only reason I didn't assume apartment was because it seems so short to be apartment, but that's not how language works. It doesn't have to be the similar length to the English version.
Right.
My word is my Spanish word. Actually, going to watch a Spanish movie tonight. I just don't know what it is yet.
Oh, muy bien.
There's if you just Google, for anyone that's wanting to do this as well, just Google, if you have Netflix, I guess, just Google Spanish movies on Netflix, and there's a whole bunch of them.
Or even on Netflix, I think you can type in Spanish. I've done that with German before.
Oh, okay.
And German
maybe we'll do that. My Spanish word is el piso.
Oh, that's
Bibo.
Oh, that's is that piso. Room?
No.
Oh, shoot. What's piso?
Bibo and el piso.
You live in a house.
No, it's
no. Casa is house.
Think pit.
What?
Bit. Sorry.
Oh, apartment.
Yeah.
That's right. Apartment.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Nice. Apartment.
Yeah.
Solid. Yeah. Spanish is such a cool language.
Yeah. I like it. And
Let us know. Let us know in the next
I'll just commit to
episode. Sorry, buddy. Let us know on our next episode what movie you ended up watching because I'm curious.
Okay. I'll give you a little review.
There we go. Sweet. I'm actually going to watch a documentary about a very famous Czech woman who ended up. She survived through World War II and the Nazi occupation, but then was executed by the communists. Her name is Milada. And I actually saw her grave at Vyšehrad a few months ago when I was there with my buddy David. So I'm going to watch that probably tomorrow or the next day. Trying to get in as much Czech as I can. You know, the time is of the essence, as I've said.
No, I feel you.
So I think it's time, Jared, for some jokes. And I found some jokes related to houses. And of course, I'm going to give you some knock-knock jokes as well. So first one is a teacher asks her pupil, can anyone tell me what sort of animal a slug is? What do you think the pupil says, Jared?
I have no idea how to even guess that.
The pupil says a slug is the type of animal that is a snail with a housing problem.
I don't follow.
Oh, God. Jokes are so bad when you got to explain them, Jared. But so a slug does not have a shell. A snail has a shell.
Oh, okay. Right. I mean, now I get it, but that wasn't readily available in my head, that information.
Maybe I should have modified that so it was hermit crabs. Maybe that would have been...
Yeah, I guess so.
That would have been easy. Okay. So, this is kind of an interesting one. So, a house is inhabited by a Greek on the ground floor, an Italian on the first floor, and a German on the second floor. The house then was on fire. Who survived?
I'm going to assume it's the German.
And why?
I have no idea. Because his food, he used the fire to... I don't know.
The German because he was out practicing marching.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, it's kind of a stupid one, isn't it? Yeah, that was stupid.
That's not awful. I mean, awful in the sense of intense. Let's put it that way. Dark.
That's fair. Hey, I didn't say he was doing a goose step. Just said he was marching.
That's true. Right. Maybe he just plays in a band. That's
right. A little oom-pa-pa band. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So let me give you a couple knock-knock jokes now, Jared, to end our joke segment. So, knock-knock.
Who's there?
Jamaican.
Jamaican me crazy. I don't know.
God damn it,
Jamaican who? Sorry. Oh, was that really it?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I did everyone a favor by ruining that joke. Actually, the reason I did that is because I did forget how to do a knock-knock joke for a hot second. I was like, oh, that's supposed to be Jamaican who? Yeah. I'm glad that I fucked up that joke. That's a terrible joke, and I'm glad you didn't do it.
You didn't even let me finish. God damn. All right, fine. I won't even finish it.
No, I'm sorry. I actually legitimately for a hot sec forgot how to do a knock-knock joke.
All right, here we go, Jared. Knock-knock.
All right, who's there?
Candace.
Candace who?
Candace, door open or what? Granted, knock-knock jokes are usually for children, so there you go. Anyways, knock-knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo-hoo.
No need to cry, Jared. It's just a joke.
I forgot what
All right, Jared, and this is our last one. I'll end you. Well, please. I won't even tell you what it is because I don't want to give it away. But knock-knock.
Who's there?
To.
To who?
It's to whom?
Oh. That was a little better because it was at least involves language.
Right. That's why I wanted to end on that one.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Couple
Should
corny
I apologize
knock-knock
to our
jokes
listeners real quick?
For our terrible knock-knock jokes.
Don't put that out on me.
Okay, fair enough. For my terrible knock-knock jokes. Fair enough. Well, we hope you have enjoyed this episode about living arrangements. And I think the most important thing about living arrangements is getting to know what you're comfortable with, especially in different cultures, and being aware of those, right? So, and although we didn't mention this in the main segment, especially if you're moving or traveling to a new place, make sure you really take a look at what the living arrangements will be like where you're going. I was very lucky to come into this wonderful apartment here in Chomutov, but not everyone is so lucky. So make sure you really do your due diligence, do your homework. Jared's doing it right now in Michigan. And it's really crucial to picking good living arrangements. And if you're curious about different options, take a look what's out there when you go travel, because you might be surprised. If you're in Australia, maybe you can go to an underground home. If you end up going to Kyrgyzstan, check out a yurt. There's a lot of really cool places you can see. Build an igloo if you're somewhere cold and you got lots of snow, and tell us how it goes. And we hope you've enjoyed this episode about living arrangements. Please let us know what you thought of it. You can send us an email, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Also, check out our Twitter, Untranslatable1, for our Czechomor song of the pod this week, and numerous other songs of the pod that we've had through our 103 episodes so far, and more coming out in the near future. Also, do not forget, every other Saturday, we have a travel tip series coming out for you, giving you some good deets of things to do, what to see and what to avoid in various cities around the world. And lastly, please, we are begging you, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher.
Spread a little
also,
love.
give us some feedback, what we can do better, or what you enjoy about the Untranslatable podcast. So, we thank you all so much for your support. I think it's like 20 countries and counting now. We really appreciate it. It means the world to us. Pun incredibly intended there. So, as we say here at the Untranslatable podcast, děkujeme a muchas gracias.